Well, good morning. Our next guest has been very busy over the last several months getting the word out on where he stands on the most important issues.
Yeah, former governor of Arkansas and presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson. He's going to return to Iowa this week, and he joins us now on set. Governor, good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning, Allison. Good to be with you.
So you're going to Iowa. I do want to talk about that, but first I just want to get your reaction to this Durham report. Obviously a lot of people not surprised based on what he found out. Just want to get your reaction.
Well, these are serious findings by the Durham report that Congress is going to pay attention to, but it also reflects the need to reform the FBI. There was wrongdoing in the investigation that led to bad conclusions and bad results. And you think about this in reference to a candidate for president, but how about the average American that runs into these same kinds of issues? And so the integrity of the FBI and law enforcement is at stake. One thing, when I announced 3 weeks ago for President of the United States, I said we need to reform the FBI. I've worked with the FBI and all the federal law enforcement agencies as the United States Attorney, as head of the DEA, and there's too many different broad jurisdiction agencies. The FBI needs to be reformed, be held more accountable, and more focused in their primary missions. That's something that I want to do, and it's going to take presidential leadership to accomplish that.
Governor, if I were to say the FBI and the DOJ were completely out of control, would you agree with that assessment?
Well, under this administration, the DOJ has not been providing the proper oversight of the FBI. The Mar-a-Lago search is a good example of that. That was ill-advised, and that was a Department of Justice decision. The agents that are on the street are carrying out the orders. And so it's a leadership issue, and that has to change. That's who you elect as President of the United States and putting the right people in office.
That leads me to my next question, because the gap between you, Ron DeSantis, every other candidate, DeSantis isn't even in the race, and Donald Trump continues to get wider. How do you make up that ground over the next 19 months? Because this right here, it's just going to make Trump a martyr even more. It's going to further separate him. That's what we've seen with the raid on Mar-a-Lago, with the indictment. His poll numbers grow and grow. How do you make up that ground?
Well, there's two key things that you've said so far. One, 19 months. This is still very early in the campaign. And secondly, this field is still developing. As you indicated, there's still announcements that will be coming. And so this is early. People are getting to know the candidates. That's what's beautiful about campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire. They actually get to know you one-on-one. You do the retail politics, and you put out your ideas. This is about the future. And so when they look at my experience, both in national security issues as governor that has led in a consistent conservative way, I feel like there's a really good path for me to win the nomination.
Yeah, Governor, you're back in Iowa this week, so President Trump couldn't go because of tornadoes. DeSantis spent a few days there. What do you hope to accomplish in Iowa? It's such an important state.
Well, you've got to get beyond Des Moines, and of course we're going to be going into the northeast part of the state. I'm going to go into about 4 or 5 different counties. This is a rural state. It's an agricultural state, but there's such incredible value. So I'm going to be going to small groups, large groups. I'm going to be talking to county committees and telling them my vision for America and how the Biden policies are wrong, from energy policy that's failed to the border security policy. Look at my experience in dealing with that. Fentanyl is crushing our communities and our families, and this is something that has to be addressed with somebody with law enforcement experience, somebody that understands what's happening in Mexico that we can change.
Governor, I want to get to a couple more topics. We've only got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about the war in Ukraine. Can Ukraine win this war?
The answer is yes. They obviously need to continue to have the support of our European friends, but also the United States of America. And it's critical that we have a strategy to win and not a stalemate. No one wants a prolonged war. And obviously, when we invest money, we should make sure that we audit it, that it gets to the right purposes. But most of the money is being spent in the United States for the equipment that we're shipping over there.
This question was controversial last week, for whatever reason. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
Let me tell you, Ukraine needs to win. And there's a distinction there substantively with President Trump. There's the isolationist wing of the party. I believe the United States still needs to lead. If we don't lead, China leads. And so let's step up. And Ukraine is the one that's fighting our battle, weakening Russia, and we have to show strength there.
Let's quickly talk about the debt. President is supposed to meet with lawmakers today. Look, we've got a spending problem. Democrats are blaming Republicans. Republicans came up with a plan. How do we get out of this? Do you even think that the president will agree on anything?
Well, he should. President Biden should simply agree to have a framework for reducing the deficit and making progress on reducing federal spending. He's so far refused to do anything, and that's ridiculous. The Speaker has come up with a reasonable plan. If the President wants to do a counter plan, or if he just wants to do a framework, but one, we have to do the debt extension, but we have to also at the same time get a handle on excessive federal spending that's led to inflation, that's led to high interest rates, and hurting our families.
How concerned are you, Governor, about 30 seconds left, about Joe Biden and his mental abilities if he does run again, and if he wins again, he'd be almost 87?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned about his leadership capability. In his first term, he has turned over policy to some left-leaning staff that has resulted in some of the misguided policies that we have today. So in every way, President Biden has failed in terms of protecting America, having America strong, but also you see the terrible consequences of his leadership on the border.
Should he debate Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Everybody who runs for president should debate. Everybody on both sides of the aisle needs to express themselves to the American public and what they want to do for the next 4 years.
Okay. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, thanks so much for being with us bright and early. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Sir.
Good to be with you. Thank you.